talk through what it's going to look like to schedule an activity, in this case a climb, in the new system. So you can see that I'm logged into one of my alter ego accounts, and I want to click over to dashboard because this is one of the ways you're going to be able to enter an activity. So down when I click on under your schedule, I can see propose a calendar item. That's one way. I can schedule a group calendar item. That's another way. And I can also go to calendar and start the scheduling there. So if I propose a calendar item from here, it's going to bring out this flyout window, which looks very similar to what it looks like when you're editing your profile. The window flies out and you have options within here. If I go to calendar, I can click on schedule an activity, same flyout window. So let's dive into this. You've got 3 different options in here. You've got schedule an activity, multi-part activity, schedule a multi-part activity, and schedule a calendar event. Most of you are going to be focused in scheduling an activity. That's a climb, hike, lecture, or any one-time activity. So most of the climbs we do are just activities. Multi-part activities involve multiple parts and pieces. So in this case, probably the simplest multi-part activity we do, which is going to be a big change for folks, is something like Castle Pinnacle. In the past, we had a database entry for Castle Pinnacle. We had a database entry for Castle Pinnacle Plumber. We had a database entry for Pinnacle Plumber. We had a database entry for Castle and for Pinnacle and for Plumber, all individually. So you can imagine, and I think many of you were part of having a conflict on those peaks where multiple people had scheduled a peak on the same day because it was scheduled in multiple ways. And that's where we came up with this idea of a multi-part activity to prevent that from happening. We'll go into that more in a different video, but I just wanted to explain that here. And then calendar event is something like putting a meeting on the calendar. You know, you want to schedule a committee meeting at the MMC. This is where you could propose it. So let's start with scheduling an activity because this is where we're going to spend the majority of our time. So click on the button, and now you're going to have all of these options that you need to work through on the left. And I would suggest working through them in order. For the most part, you don't need to worry about these last 2 or the hike info. First things first, select the activity. So click on select. Now you can do one of 2 things to start here. If you know the name of what you're trying to do, just start typing it. Like if I know I want to go do something on Mount Hood, type Mount Hood, hit enter. This is going to filter down everything that we have in the system that's on Mount Hood. Same thing, like Mount Rainier. Great, I can see everything that's on Mount Rainier that I might want to do. If I want to just sort by climbs and poke through everything that's in here, I can add a filter of activity type and do climb route. And now these are sorted in alphabetical order, and I can just start searching through them. You can see there's a lot. There's 423, so that might take a little bit of time, but that is an option. I'm going to start with just Mount Hood, and I'm going to click on Sunshine. Now you can see that I actually have a couple options here. I have choose, like, nope, I just know I want to do this, I'm going to choose it. But I can also view. I would recommend clicking on view to start as we get used to the new system, because this is going to show you what data we actually have in the system for Mount Hood Sunshine, and I think it's pretty helpful. So this is going to show you the seasons and grades that this climb is available. It's going to show you that it takes place on Mount Hood. It's going to show you the trailhead where it starts, and you can click on these and get coordinates, the elevation gain, and then the rest of the information that we have in the system for Mount Hood. So it's going to give you the basic route description. It's going to show you driving distance, time, all these things that we're familiar with from the old site. Same thing, we've now got useful links in here. We've got the links to information on Google Drive that contains GPS track, coordinates, and map. And from here, you can also click and see, is anyone else leading this? Is there something coming up on this peak? Pretty helpful when you're trying to schedule. And no, there's nothing coming up at this time. But what I can also see here is what are the leader prerequisites for this climb, and do I have them? And it's going to show me that I need to be a climb leader and have avalanche training. I need to have the volunteer agreement, and I need to be a climb leader with crevasse rescue. I have all of those 3 badges, therefore I can continue scheduling that activity if I want to. And the way I know I have these badges is because I see that green check mark. There are other prerequisites. You have to be in the climb leader group, which you are, which is why you're able to get to this point at all. So now if I go back, I can click on choose. Now I need to give a name to this climb. My strong recommendation is for you to simply name it the name of the activity. You can get creative here if you want to. I think it's going to be far more simple for folks who are perusing the climb schedule if you just stick to the actual activity name. Now you can see here that you do need to be in the climb group in order to schedule this climb. That's why that's illuminated. For now, just ignore group preference. It's not worked. We have not worked through the kinks yet. In the future, this is going to be a way to identify something on the calendar for different groups, but we still have a few bugs to work out. Extra leader description for this activity. This is where you can convey information to prospective applicants. So if you want to let people know, like, hey, we're going to be going up and camping at Snow Dome as part of this climb, and you're going to need to have winter camping gear, etc. You can do that here. If you're doing something like South Sister and you want to let people know we're going to be leaving town late at night and camping at the trailhead, you can do that in this box. This is something that you want to let prospective applicants know about the climb before they sign up. So okay, now we click on to dates. So you first want to pick a season. So whatever season your dates are in, please pick the season accordingly. That's going to help the grade be populated properly. Leave date. Actually, let's do winter for now, just so this doesn't pop up with the calendar. I'm going to do something very close in the future, February 13th p.m. So this is just a one-day climb. And I also need to enter the summit date. You need to enter leave start date, leave time, return date, return time, and summit date. Please be careful when you're entering these things. If you enter them incorrectly, they will be published incorrectly on the website. And the system is cross-checking the summit date for climbs to make sure we don't have duplicate teams on a peak at any given time. Leave time and start time, this is a free form, so you can put in a specific time or you can put in just a general AM or PM if you don't know when exactly you're going to be leaving. A new feature is registration open date. When do you want to start taking applications for this climb? For now, please do not set anything before April 15th. Even though we might completely move away from that date in the future, we don't want anything starting before that date at this time. So please don't set anything before 4/15/2018. Now, in my example, it would obviously have to be before that because my climb is coming up, my fake climb is coming up really soon. So I'm going to set it to today, and then I'm going to set it to close on Monday. So you can set your registration close date as well as the open date. My recommendation would be to set it at least a few days before your climb starts so that you have time to work through prospective applicants. Now you move to leaders. This is going to show you the leader prerequisite badges that you need to have, just like we saw on the screen a few minutes ago. If I don't have these badges, I'm not going to be able to schedule this climb. Now you move down to leaders. This is where you actually need to add yourself as the leader of this climb. Click on add, click on contact, click your name, type in your name, hit enter, and select yourself. Make your role as leader and click add. For now, please don't add your assistants. We're still working through one final kink with regards to badges here. Just focus on adding yourself as the leader. Participants, you can set a minimum age. If you don't have a background check, the minimum age you can have on your climb is 18. Maximum number of applications. So this is where you get to say, hey, I'm really only willing to look at 20 different people who might want to sign up for this climb, right? In the past, many of you have had to deal with 50, 60, 100 cards for a climb. You get to choose how many applicants you're willing to look through. So let's just say I'm willing to look through 25. Minimum number of participants we know on all climbs is 4. Maximum number of participants, I'm willing to take 8 on this climb. Locations, this is not required, but if you have a meeting location that's different from your starting location, let's just say you want to meet at the MMC parking lot, you can choose that. And your starting location for Sunshine be Cloud Cap. Although it could be in town if that's where you want to start your team on the climb. Climb info, traveling by foot. My climb pace is going to be a 2. And I want to take ICS. I want ICS students to know this climb is potentially for them. You can skip over hike information because it's not for you. You can skip over badge information right now. We can come back to gear. I wouldn't worry about this as you're scheduling. I'd say let's get scheduling in and let's talk about badges and gear a little bit later in a future video. And we're not going to go into multi-part activities in this video. That'll be a different video, so you can skip this. And forms, just leave this blank. Now click on schedule. If you've forgotten anything, you're going to get a red bar that says you need to go back and do something. I got all the things, so it said I have proposed this, and this is now proposed on the calendar. So let's